In our last two videos, we looked at the tangent ratio. In this video, we'll be looking at the sine and the cosine ratios. Now, if you understood the tangent ratio, you're in pretty good shape for what's coming up because the rules are pretty much the same. The only difference is what we'll be putting into our actual fraction. So the sine ratio for a triangle, a right triangle, is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So once again, we're going to start the same. We're going to circle our reference angle, and we're going to label our side opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. And then sine will be the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cosine ratio will be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So the labeling is just the same as you did with the tangent, except for you're going to put different things on top and bottom depending on which one you're using. So for example, if you do the sine ratio of angle A, the opposite side, so we're going to label it, so hypotenuse first, opposite A is here, and adjacent to A is here. So sine angle A equals opposite A over hypotenuse, which is C. Cosine of A is the adjacent side, which is B, over hypotenuse, which is C. A clever acronym to remember these is SOHCAHTOA, where sine is the opposite side over the hypotenuse, cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, and tangent is the opposite side over the adjacent side. So SOHCAHTOA is a good way to remember what you're looking for. All right, so let's start setting them up. So it looks like A is my reference angle on both of these. So I'm going to circle A and label your triangle hypotenuse, because it's across from the 90, opposite, because it's across from the angle, and then adjacent, because it's next to it. So sine of A equals 48, because that's opposite. So if you think SOHCAHTOA, sine is O over H, so opposite, which is 48 over 80, which is hypotenuse. Of course, this does reduce. You could type in your calculator. It reduces down to, let's see, 16 goes in both of those, 3 over 5. Cosine of A would be adjacent, ka, over hypotenuse, 64 over 80, which reduces down to 4 over 5. Okay, we're going to not do that one. So now we're going to actually have to solve for missing sides and angles. And you're going to have to actually think a little bit of what you're using here. The way I advise is to ask yourself some questions as you're doing this. First off, what is your reference angle? So first question, what's your reference angle? Well, in this case, it's 55. Step two, and this isn't a question, but you need to label your sides. So hypotenuse, we always label that first because it's across from the 90, then opposite, and then adjacent. So step two, I'll put here label your sides because it's not really a question. All right, the second question you're going to do for yourself in your head is, what side am I given? So in this sense, you're given the 14, which is the adjacent side. The third question you need to ask yourself is, what side do I need? Well, you need S, which happens to be the hypotenuse. And the last question you're going to ask yourself is, which ratio involves these two sides? Well, if you think SOHCAHTOA, you have the adjacent and you need the hypotenuse. So what has an A and an H in it? No, that's an O. A, H. Oh, there we go. So we're going to use cosine. So we're going to say cosine of 55, because that's your angle. So cosine 55 equals the adjacent, which is 14, over the hypotenuse, which is S. Now we cross multiply, and we get S times the cosine of 55 equals 14. And if you remember, to get rid of the cosine 55 or any part that's attached with your variable, you just divide both sides by that value. So 14 divided by the cosine 55 gives you that S equals 24.4. So that side is 24.4 right there. All right, so I hope you got these questions down because we're going to be asking them in the next problem. I want you to pause the video, ask yourself those questions, and try to solve this problem, seeing what you need, tangent, sine, or cosine. All right, first question, what is your reference angle? 27. Now let's label our sides. So across from the 90 is your hypotenuse. Across from your reference angle is your opposite side. And then your adjacent side is here. All right, the second question you need to ask yourself, what side am I given? You're given your hypotenuse. So we're going to write this out so we can kind of look at it. So you're given your hypotenuse. What side do you need? Your opposite. So what involves O and H? Well, that's sine, has O and H in it. So it's going to be sine of 27 equals your opposite, which is H, over 2. Cross multiply, 2 sine 27 equals H, and just plug it into your calculator. So H equals 0.9. All right, our final question involves an angle. We learned on the last video that to find an angle with the tangent, we do second tangent for the tangent -1. It's the same exact concept for sine and cosine. You do second sine or second cosine, sine -1 or cosine -1. I want you to pause the video and see if you can find the missing angle. All right, so we're going to start by circling our reference angle and then labeling our triangle. Hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. So what sides are you given in this case? You are given the opposite side and the hypotenuse. What involves opposite and hypotenuse? Sine does. So sine x equals 5 over 14. So in your calculator, you need to do sine -1 of 5 divided by 14. And that gives you that x equals 20.9 degrees. All right, so please make sure you do your homework to get good practice with this. Thank you.